Hi guys, it's Nicole, and today I'm going to be sharing a much longer video. Over the last probably several weeks, maybe even a couple months, I decided to do a major overhaul and kind of clean out sort of my craft room. And I worked on it in bits and pieces. I am also working on this video in bits and pieces, so it's not going to necessarily be a super cohesive video from start to finish. But the process also wasn't a super cohesive start to finish process. Absolutely nothing was planned, organized. Absolutely nothing is going to give you that beautiful aesthetic. This is just down and dirty, and where I'm at, and I have told you guys before, I tend to follow where my mood takes me. I was doing pretty good cranking out layouts, and then I sort of was just feeling overwhelmed with the fact that I have a lot of stash, older stash that I enjoy. However, I actually have a lot of stuff that just doesn't have either a home to begin with or a home that necessarily works. And I've known this for a long time. I've been putting it off for a long time because I knew how large of a project this was going to be and kind of how much mental space that this was going to take up. And I felt like if the mood was here, I was going to go ahead and accept it, knowing that the journey was going to be rough, the process was going to be long and dirty, and I am even today still working on it, and I am just trying to kind of stay focused on that end result of having sort of a place for everything, a place that I actually know exists for everything, and just better overall functionality and a lot of just clearing out stuff that I've probably held on for a lot longer than I needed to, whether it's stuff that I just don't need anymore or it's stuff that doesn't fit my style, doesn't fit my process, whatever it may be. I was kind of surprised that I started in my closet of doom. I wasn't 100% sure where I was going to go. Like I said, I didn't really have a plan when I started. I am actually kind of going with a method of just taking a section, completely emptying it, taking out things that I know I don't want anymore or is trash and getting rid of it. Then I make a separate sort of pile, section, box, whatever it may be, for things that I no longer want, but I can either donate locally or incorporate into some kind of purge boxes and sell those through my Facebook group like I've done previously. That is sort of a decision and a project for another day, because I don't want to start that until I finish my room and I've kind of gone through everything that's in here and decided what I don't want anymore. And then I'm not really putting anything back unless I'm sure that that's the home that that item is going to live in. It's, like I said, it's a process. I kind of tackle it when I am mentally prepared for it. There's certain parts of this hobby and certain parts of my room that I think just I hold off on even starting just because I know it's going to be more of a mental load than anything. And I don't want to get to a point where I start a project and I fizzle out and don't finish it. So instead of giving myself like a week to accomplish this, I am doing it when I'm in the mood to deal with it, when I have the time to deal with it. And I think overall my end result will be kind of where I want it to be. So again, I'm starting in my closet. The previous clip was me emptying a giant paper tower that I have, figuring out what all that was. These trays over here is where I keep my finished layouts. On the right, there's actually labels for the years, and then I had a bunch of random photos that were here. It was a lot of Christmas cards and school photos, to be honest, sorted through. After I kind of hit like a mental block with the closet, I moved on to what I just call my tower of cubes, and this is a lot of kits from the scrap room, other page kits that somehow aren't in my paper storage, tools. And I would say probably 20% of this giant wall of cubes is legitimate homes for things, homes that work for me, and stuff like that. In the hallway is where I have been keeping my purge, like stuff that I need to sort through later. And with this, I'm kind of going with the same thing. I'm starting in one, I'm emptying it and making decisions as I go. I'm not making super detailed decisions. It's more of, do I want to keep it? Do I not want to keep it? Is it trash? If I'm keeping it, I've been using this blue bin. I will sort through that blue bin later. If I'm purging it, it's going in the cardboard box on the floor. I will go through that later. It's more of kind of forcing myself to go through and make sure that I'm looking at everything, I'm touching everything, and then I'm also doing a deep clean of the actual furniture if it needs it. And then I'm leaving it empty, which kind of a caveat to that. Some of these cubes, like the drawer for my punches would be an example. My punches have a home. That home works for me. After I go through them, they're going to go back in that home. That home is going to stay there. It's going to be a consistent home for them. If it's a section of these cubes that wasn't already sort of a specified home, then I'm going to leave it empty. I was finding all kinds of stuff. These were super old paper piecing patterns. At first I thought I was going to toss them. I have a pile going of stuff that I kind of need to just sit and think on a little bit longer, or show it to my daughter and tell her, if you want some of this, you can have some of it, but I don't want you to keep all of it, because I'm not going to basically pass my hoard on to somebody else. That's not fair. So I may kind of explain to her what they are, see if she's interested in any of them, and then she can kind of go put that in her little craft cabinet if she wants to. But again, I am trying to stay focused on an overall clean. So specific decisions like those, I'm setting aside in a pile for another day. I think the 3 cabinets that are on the top here, 2 are still empty. One of them housed the majority of my already like filed and organized Scrapbook Generation sketches in 3-ring binders, and some of the individual sketchbooks that I have from them. So because this was already an established home that works for me, I cleaned it. I pulled out every single binder and just checked the binders to see what all was in there. Make sure it was what I thought it was. I pulled out some binders that weren't actually filed and organized and set them aside, because that's another project for another day, is to deal with my sketches. I know that if I kind of pivot and decide, oh, I'm working on this cube that houses my sketches, I should sit down and organize my sketches, I know that I will get lost in that shiny squirrel syndrome, and I won't finish it, and then I'll have sort of another mess taking up space where it's almost like a roadblock of me getting back to this major like room cleanup. You can tell from the many wardrobe changes and stuff, I would come up here in between cleaning my house. I saw clips of me where I must have worked out that day and I came up all sweaty and in workout clothes. I just came up here, like I said, when I had the mental space to deal with it, and I had 10 or 15 minutes to just focus on it. And I think breaking it down into different sort of mental decision steps is what's been working for me. And I've really just been focused on, I pick a section, like I said, I completely empty it, I look through everything that's in there, and things only go back if that's the home. The cubes over here on the left that I'm working on, those weren't the original homes for a lot of those things, but I ended up deciding in the moment that I was going to create a home for some stuff. More than likely later on in the video, I'll do maybe some more like detail, just kind of looking at what I decided to put back in some of this stuff, because I know that a lot of you are interested in things like that. I didn't really go in order with the cubes. Like I said, I just kind of picked one that I felt like I could deal with at the time and went through it. This bottom one actually had a whole bunch of the Simple Stories baby collections that I absolutely love and I hoard. I went ahead and combined it with Pebbles boy and girl baby collection that I've used recently. And I went to Hobby Lobby and bought every single one of these paper boxes that they had because during this process, I decided to change up a little bit of how I store stuff. I tend to keep most of my paper kind of sorted by manufacturer and then like theme within manufacturer or even just the overall feel of it. And then I find myself kind of annoyed anytime I have to go looking for like a themed holiday or a routine celebration that like my family specifically celebrates. So I went and got enough boxes to where I've got, you know, a box to put Halloween stuff, Christmas, month in review, school, baby, certain things that I pull out. And when I pull it out, I tend to pull out everything that I have because I know I'm going to mix and match and I'm not doing more of like pairing stuff to a sketch. And a lot of these drawers, to be honest, was random stuff that I had just kind of opened the drawer, set stuff in, and was like, I'll deal with this another day. Well, that other day never arrived until I decided to do this project, and I think I was in the right headspace to deal with this because I was getting rid of stuff left and right, regardless of if I had ever used it. I ignored the sort of monetary value of the item because yes, I spent money on it. Yes, it's in my room. Yes, it's a tool that say I could use one day. But I feel like if I haven't used it, say, and as long as we've lived in this house, the odds are I'm never going to use it. And decisions like that are going to be super specific to each of us. And you kind of have to just decide, you know, where that falls in your decision making. This is the drawer that I was talking about earlier. My punches have always kind of lived in this cube that has these 3 drawers. I went through, emptied them out, because again, I'm going with that method of just empty everything. As I'm emptying it, I'm making super quick decisions of, I don't ever use this. I don't know why I have it. Why do I have 2 of these? Get down to the bottom, do a deep clean of the actual furniture. A couple of these drawers, I actually had to fix some of the like slide stoppers. And then from there, this is an established home, so I know that these punches are going to go back in here. So I want to kind of figure out a way that's going to work for me. I don't like them sort of being like free range within the drawer. That's kind of how they get messy to begin with. And I'm not really wanting to take time and money out of my life to go order more specific drawer organizers or anything like that. So I'm making use of stuff that I've pulled out from other sections of my room, repurposing things like lids, empty boxes. It doesn't matter to me. It's going to go in a drawer. It's basically just going to keep things from sliding around. And again, we're not going for cute aesthetics. We're going for, it's an item that I want. It's an item that I will use. It's an item that I enjoy. And it is an item that I have established a home for. I think that I kind of feel like this video is already going to be super long, and I feel like I'm going to kind of repeat that a lot. But it's something that I've definitely learned over the last couple of weeks is it's okay to let things go. Like I was amazed that mostly that whole lid of punches, I ended up just deciding, you know what, I don't want them. I'm kind of at this phase where if I want a specific shape like that, more than likely I'm going to go for a die. I'm going to use like my Sizzix or something. Or if I want something super specific, then I'm going to pull out my Cameo and I'm going to do like a digital version. I did keep like my favorites, my basic shapes that I feel like I use a lot. And then I sort of just sorted the drawers into The top one has a lot of my border punches. This middle one has, I think I'm just dubbing it like basic shapes, so like circles, stars. I did keep the tiny square and the little paw print. I've got a couple specific ones that I'm keeping in the front there, which is the like banner punch and the one that has like the Mickey heads. And then I was excited because I thought that I had consolidated my punches from 3 drawers down to 2. And then I decided I was going to move over my 2 circle cutting systems, which is the old Creative Memories one and then the Colossal. And it was at this point that I realized, no, you set aside other punches that you wanted to keep, and now they need a home. And it was more than I wanted to try to cram into the other 2 drawers, so I decided to just spread things out a little bit more, kind of give everybody a little bit more breathing room. And so these ones on the bottom are more what I would consider like detail shapes. I tried a couple times to get those circle cutter systems to fit in there. They did not. Here's a good example of just a random drawer of stuff. I think this started out as like a child approved drawer, and then it turned into just a lot of stuff that got tossed in there for another day, and that day turned to be now. And I was finding all kinds of places on this cube wall to prop my camera up because I couldn't figure out what would be a good angle for you guys to kind of see into these drawers. And so yeah, I was tucking you guys in anywhere I could get my tripod to kind of hang out. It fell a couple times, but I ended up editing those out of the clips because they were rough. This is one of those drawers where I think it originally was a home for chipboard, and it continued to be a home for chipboard, and then it was just some other like specific papers that ended up in here. And I tried to be good about, if I found something in a drawer that had an established home and I knew where that home was, that I would go take that item and put it in the home. If it didn't have a home, it was going in my blue bucket for the day that I can mentally deal with the blue bucket and kind of find homes for all of that stuff. Anything that I was finding that I was also deciding, okay, I want to keep, I don't really want to throw this in the blue bucket because I'm still finding other things that are like-minded supplies. I was using those tray, like the cubes with the slots, to kind of house and organize as I went along. I stumbled upon, again, this was an established home for these Kiwi Lane templates. I feel like by the time I found out about them and started to use them and had accumulated a lot of them, my style had already kind of evolved away from using them. But this was one of those things where it was a good tool and a good investment for when I was doing things like paper piecing and super traditional double page layouts for local scrapbook stores, because these made good like guides for different layers and things in the background. I actually keep the photo template one on my desk to kind of figure out photo placement a lot of times. And so what I ended up doing with these was I went through and cleaned them up, put everything kind of back into their packaging, which normally I don't like to do, but in this instance, because it's something that I know I might maybe open this drawer once a year and look for something, I decided to put it back in the packaging because the packaging has a better representation of sort of what the template is. And I actually decided to move its home down to this drawer on the bottom because this drawer sucks. There's something going on with it and I can't figure out what it is. And I was like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. It only opens a little over halfway and it's on the bottom. So to me, I would rather put stuff down here that I'm not going to reach for on a regular basis, but I'm not ready to get rid of either. and it's kind of a win-win. And basically, I just kind of decided that no matter how many of these I had, I was going to make them fit within the one drawer, because I just didn't want it to take up an entire cube, especially with a tool that I may or may not find myself using very often. And I'm going to say it again. These are decisions that I am making for me, for my items, for the furniture that I have. Me. You do you. You find out what works for you. I make these videos because there's a lot of my subscribers that really enjoy the cleaning with me videos. I would like to get back to kind of like a monthly room reset, but I desperately needed a room overhaul. I want to have access to the things that I absolutely love. I want to have better knowledge of what's in my stash and be able to kind of work on a lot of things that I am kind of blocked by my own disorganizing. These smaller cubes that are from Michael's with the drawers, these actually pull out. So some of them I pulled out and put my camera back on the mount so that I could charge it and keep working and filming at the same time. And I was really hoping that I could get all of my stitching and stuff like that into one drawer, but I have two of these little organizers, and then I have an obnoxious amount of DMC thread on the little paper spoolie things and loose like this. And that's because I do occasionally, I go through phases. I am not in the phase right now, but I do work on full-size cross stitch projects where it's edge to edge stitches and not the cute country sampler style, although I've been watching some stuff on Instagram and I'm kind of trying not to get distracted with more things in these hobbies. So I tried to keep the stuff that I reach for consistently towards the top. These organizers that are over here on the right, I've ordered 3 or 4 times from Amazon. I absolutely love them. I keep using them in different areas of my house, and so I've been pulling them out here and there. I do try to go ahead and use stuff that was already up here, so different bins. I have these drawers left over from the way that I decided to store my markers, which if I can find that video, if I made a video, I'll put it in the eye above. This is probably 2 weeks later. I took a big break, clearly based on my outfit choice for the day. I can tell you that I was definitely cleaning house this day. There's dog hair all over me. There's something stuck to my back. So this was one of those days where in between running laundry and waiting for toilet bowl cleaner to sit, you know, all the things, I came up here and I was like, okay, I'm going to tackle the working side of my desk. And at this point, it's pretty messy. It's basically, I stopped in the middle of a Creating with Collections layout and then started this major cleanup. And if I can find a flat surface to set something on for a little bit, I will. So as I was cleaning my room and things didn't have a home, things didn't have a sort later bin, I was just just set it over here. We'll deal with this another day. And today was the day I was like, you know what? Mentally, I'm prepared to deal with all of this. So I kind of just went through and pulled out all the Creative Collection stuff, put it all back together, and it's I think it's in 2 iris boxes at this point, and just started going through everything that had somehow ended up on this desk. Now you can see where my desk ends. I have one of those 3-tier carts from Michael's, and currently my Big Shot is sitting on top of it. I spent days going through my dies, sorting them, coming up with a way to get them to all fit on that cart. That cart barely fits in that space. And this is an example of just because, you go through and organize something and you think something's going to work. This is not working. Yes, everything's housed in there, but it is extremely difficult for me to sort through my dies and find them. And because I have carpet up here, it's all I can do to move that cart. It's super heavy and the wheels just don't want to go on carpet in general. So for now, it's basically like a temporary home until I can make some decisions on potentially moving some furniture around in here. But again, I'm trying really not to focus on the end portion of finding homes, doing the fun like organizing and setting everything kind of up where it needs to go. I'm not focusing on any of that until I get everything out of here that I don't want. I get everything like a really good deep clean, dusted, wiped, vacuum, trash, just things that are in here that don't need to be in here. I have a bunch of stuff that needs to be like downstairs in my recipe binder. I'm trying to just stay on this sort of mentality of empty the space, get rid of things you don't want, put things in a purge pile if you don't want them. If it has a home, put it in the home. If it doesn't have a home, put it in the little homeless pile, and we will deal with that another day. I did go ahead and leave my Creating with Collections out. I did like a quick clean of my mats, and then things like I have this stack of CDs that probably have photos on them. I went ahead and put them in the drawers that I dedicate to like my computer stuff. I just realized the other day I don't even have a CD drive in this desktop. So again, a problem for another day. I may have to go borrow a laptop from one of the people that lives in this house and see what's on those CDs, and I'm terrified. This was later in the day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to keep this ball rolling. I'm going to go ahead and deep clean this corner desk, which is basically my computer. It tends to get a lot of dust pretty quickly and like little cat hair bunnies. And you can see my super cheap blinds. Lost a fight with the cat again. My friend is very annoyed by that. I sent her a photo of it. And it's one of those things I'm like, yeah, I buy the super cheap blinds thinking that I'll remember to open and close the door for the cat, and I forgot to shut the door one day. So my bad. The bigger issue is the pigeons that live underneath the solar panels of my home and my neighbor's home. But again, problem for another day. Today, we're cleaning my scrap room. All right, guys, we've made it probably to the halfway point of this video. The previous audio, I want to say I recorded about a week ago. I just finished my room yesterday, and I am tackling the rest of whatever video footage I have. Again, this was a project that I tackled when I had the headspace for it, when I had the time for it, and when I knew that I could go in and I could get like forward movement with it without it being like overwhelming or stressful, because I knew that if I kind of came at it from that mindset, that at the end I wasn't going to be like happy with the outcome. So I didn't really put like a timeline on it. I didn't put a deadline, anything like that. Like I worked when I could, when I wanted to, and sort of when I was in, like I said, when I was in the headspace to deal with it. Throughout the video, you're going to see me sort of clean multiple areas more than once. And that's just my particular process. A lot of times with this, I was finding myself like I would clean out a section, kind of throw everything on one of the desks, clean the one that was empty, sort through the piles, shift everything to the middle of the room as I was sorting, put those things away, sort another section, use my desktop for sorting, use the middle of the room for things that needed to go, things that were staying. It's kind of like when you clean out like a closet that you've been avoiding, how as soon as you start taking everything out and then you look at the mess that used to be contained in a closet that is now spread out all over your house. It's kind of like that. And for me, the wiping down the surfaces and the vacuuming is almost like the reward of finishing that section, even knowing that I'm going to go back and I'm probably going to have to clean it again because I'm going to use it to sort some more stuff and it's going to get dirty again. Throughout this process, I was really trying to focus on things that didn't work and repurposing either a container, a section of my room, something. So like that acrylic organizer that I had emptied, I decided to use it more for notebooks, hard drives, cameras, camera cards, things like that when I'm doing things like I'm doing today, where I'm going to be editing a video, I'm going to be planning out series, finishing series, like the stuff that's not creative. I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and repurpose this. It used to sit over by my printer with the intention of being a home for like ink refills and different card stocks that I print my journaling on. That was an easy indication of something that wasn't working. And so I was like, you know what, this is not working. We're going to change it up. As of right now, the drawers underneath my printer aren't organized at all. They have a lot of different cardstocks and papers, printer paper, stuff like that, just sort of shoved in there. That is sort of a smaller sort and a smaller organizing project that I'm going to save for another day. As I went through my room, I was finding a couple areas like that where it was something that I didn't want to deal with in the scope of this large project, and also it just wasn't something that I had the brain space for it. One of the other sort of major sorts that I need to do is printed out scrapbook sketches. Sometimes I'm really good about immediately designating a binder, keeping them in the binder, putting them back in the binder when I'm done. Other times I just get kind of sucked into the creative process and I will print it off real quick, use it, and then kind of throw it in a pile, telling myself I'll get to it later. That's kind of one of those projects that I really need to be in a specific headspace. I really need to be wanting to organize them. So that's one of those things that I was like, let's just find a home for them to live now. And as I find the time and the energy and I want to put the effort into them, I will. So yeah, there was a couple like specific items like that I kind of have in the back of my mind that I need to revisit. I have obviously switched outfits, switched days, switched desks. I cleaned my main desk many times. I think I took out the footage of me actually moving these cubes because it was just me huffing and puffing and sweating and looking at my butt. So I was like, we're going to just delete this. And you guys can get the gist that I moved 6 of the cubes that I have, which are the Recollections brand from Michaels, into a tower at the end of my desk. And I think that that's going to work a little bit better for me. If you guys want, leave a comment below or leave like a specific question below, and maybe in like future Workspace Wednesday videos I can do a little bit more detailed like look at where or how I store certain things. I am kind of looking at that tower of cubes as like almost like a work in progress wall, while also housing a lot of like my sketchbooks and stuff. So one of those cubes has like all 4 series that I'm in the middle of and haven't finished. One of the cubes has like all of my cutting mats, the thick pieces of chipboard that I keep to do like white paint on the edge of photos, tools that are sort of that size, so like a scoreboard. I'm looking at it trying to think. Stencil mat, sticky mats, things like that. Stuff that I would kind of consider more like tools. The Alex drawer unit that is next to it is also sort of where I keep frequently used tools, and then things that are more like dies and punches I would need to get up to go get. But that's, like I said, that's how my brain works. I typically tell people when they ask, or don't tell, suggest, is sit down at your desk and almost ask yourself, if I needed to get a punch, would I want to get up to go find it, or would I want to just reach over and grab it? Once you kind of answer that level of a question is when you can start thinking, okay, if I want to get up and go get it because maybe I want to look at other ones while I'm up and maybe come back with 2 or 3 instead of just the one that I was thinking about, and I prefer maybe more of like shopping my stash, then you're going to start thinking about the storage that you have in your space that's going to work for that. I had my ink pads over here. Realistically, I use them for specific projects, and I pull out a lot at a time. And I actually had a hard time kind of getting them out because I would always have like my trimmer, an iris case of whatever series I was working on sort of in front of it. So I moved it over to this sort of area that I had created by removing those cubes. I removed all of the recollections cubes and got it down to the cubes that are at the bottom of what was like my cube wall. These are bigger. These are from Crop and Store, Crop and Style, something like that. I drove to St. George and bought them at Roberts. They're just bigger, sturdier, beefier storage cubes. They do the same job as the recollections ones. Unfortunately, I don't think you can get these anymore. So I have the 6 that I have. And by taking the Michaels cubes off, it kind of gave me this like counter height work surface. So I decided to put my dies here. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about how you need to think about your specific process and how you think about things when you're in that process. And for me, if I'm working on something and I think, okay, I want to play with dies, I was getting frustrated because I would have to keep going in my closet. It's not well lit. It's on shelves that are just kind of hard to work around, and I was missing a lot of stuff because I couldn't really see everything at once. So by bringing it out into that setup, I think I'm going to like it a little bit more. I also considered things like the fact that I don't want to have stamps or paper out where I have a lot of natural light because it can fade the paper. I've had it happen, and it can turn your stamps yellow. They still work, but it just kind of starts to make them look gross. So that was a switch up. Something like my mini ink cubes, I decided to switch these up as well. The Distress ink line, I typically use for specific things. I don't stamp with them. I don't really stencil with them. I only do like inking the edges of paper, and then they are sort of my quote unquote watercolor medium. So for me, it was easier to switch those into that tray. Put the tray in the drawer that my MFT brand ones were in, and then now I've got all of my little mini ink cubes over here in 2, it might have gone over to 3 drawers, I can't remember, because of how I use them, how I think about going to look for them. If I'm going to be matching them up to a paper collection because I'm going to be stamping, I will go to my ink swatches and pick specific colors, and that might go across different brands, and I can find them kind of all together. Some might be cubes, some might be full-size ink pads, so having them kind of closer, housed closer together is going to work better for me. So again, I just tried to focus more on how do I use my supplies, when do I use my supplies, and what's going to work better for me to go locate them as well as putting them back when I'm done. I think a lot of times you can get kind of caught up in seeing what other people do or seeing what like the majority of people do and try to mimic that, but that may not work for your specific process. My process is not going to work for everybody. There could be one of you that says, you know what, my room looks like this, I feel like this, I can 100% resonate with this. Other people might be like, I'm so confused because when I finish a project, I immediately put everything away. Everything has an established home. I clean everything up. I wipe everything down, and then I have a fresh start to immediately go back into crafting again. We're all individual. We all think about things differently. We all have different processes. We all have things that we have figured out works for us, doesn't work for us. And I am just kind of sharing me and my process, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, in the hope that maybe this will encourage you to just open a drawer and reorganize a drawer, or be like, you know what, I really haven't given like my desktop a good deep clean in a while. I want to do that. Or I just want to watch an hour-long video of somebody clean their room. And here we are. I kept my clips in order on purpose just so that you guys could really see how I was bouncing around. This was about the phase where I was feeling like, okay, I've kind of gone through every area. I've thrown away a ton of stuff. I have put stuff in purge boxes. Everything else that's sort of an empty storage unit, I need to start thinking about what's going to work. So like those shelves was where I was kind of putting my series that are in progress. I decided to not move these clear racks that I have. This was sort of where I was putting in progress things, but it really just wasn't working out for me. Similar concept of it. Yes, it's a flat shelf and they're separated, but for whatever reason in my brain, it wasn't working. So I decided to take my 12 by 12 stickers out of a drawer, which wasn't working because I was having to constantly dig through them and I would only get about halfway down before I was annoyed. I decided to split them up into different categories among those shelves. And I think that that's going to work better for me because typically when I'm looking at my stickers, I'm looking for specific kind of criteria. So it was smarter for me to split it up into that criteria so that when I'm looking, I'm saving a little bit of time. So again, I just kind of kept going back to, if I'm sitting down and I want to work on this and I decide I want to go pull a bunch of stickers, what's going to be the easiest thing for me? I went ahead and pulled like my 6x12 and other like 12-inch long stickers, put them on the shelf below that. And then typically I keep all of like my die cuts and stuff in the closet, but I went ahead and grabbed the bin that housed my Simple Story stuff and just put it out there too, because that's one of the ones that I tend to dig through the most. And I felt like, let's just see if having it out here, I'm going to like it better. As I was finding things in my room, like the Copic markers that had been pulled for an online class, I was like, you know what, these have a home. Let's just go put these away real quick. I have that clear bin that every time I came across either storage that I had emptied out during this or found, I was putting everything back in there, and then I would shop from that when I needed an organizer or a bin or a little divider to put in a drawer. I would just keep going back to the stuff that I had pulled from other areas of my room. I didn't buy anything during this. I didn't buy any shelving, bins, none of that. I think a couple months ago I ordered my favorite little drawer organizers from Amazon. I've bought this set 3 or 4 different times and I use it all over my house. I think I just happened to have purchased another box of those, so I brought them up, but I think I only used a couple here and there as I was sorting out my drawers. I really tried to just use things that were already up here. And then anything that I wasn't going to be using a lot, I put like up on the top shelf of my closet. So crop bags, storage, those letter-sized stacking trays, stuff that I don't necessarily want to get rid of, but it's stuff that I don't use on a daily, weekly, even monthly process. And I don't want to get rid of it. So me being a shorty, I was like, let's just throw it on the top. And then anytime I need to get up there, I can just go grab a chair, climb up there and find what I need to find. And then, like I said, I kind of treated myself as I went from section to section and I would wipe stuff down or vacuum. I think at this point I'm down to like the last 2 days of footage, and it's like in any big project where you can kind of start to feel that you're getting close to the end and you get that like spark of excitement of just being done with it and wanting it done and wanting the end result. So this was yesterday morning when I came up, just kind of showing where I'm at. Like I said, I was just I kept pushing stuff into the middle of the room that I needed to get to. I got my purge boxes that needed to go downstairs, and everything just sort of needed, last minute things needed to get put away, wiping, vacuuming, neatening up type of a thing. And I'm hoping that because I have this kind of out of the way, I've removed a lot of things in here that were just taking up space that I no longer love. I'm hoping that I can kind of get back into the habit that I used to do at the end of every month and kind of get back into doing like a room reset where, yes, be better about putting things away as I work on them, but also just having that like monthly go around and put everything away, dust, wipe, vacuum, and then maybe like go see if I'm in the mood to kind of revisit some of those projects that I mentioned, like the wide Alex drawers over there. I need to figure out what's going on with the stuff in there, but like I said, I'm not in the mood to do it. It's not anything that's super important. It's just sort of stuff that goes with the printer and I think some storage envelopes, things like that. So that's something I can deal with another day, but I might try to tackle like one project like that per month and have my room be sort of kept up a little bit better. And I don't know, it's even weird like sitting here doing a voiceover knowing that I'd say almost every single thing up here sort of has a home. I know where it is. You could ask me, hey, where's this? And I could probably find it. And I wouldn't have to be like, well, some of them are over here, some of them are over there. I just bought some and they're in this box. Like, one of the other things I'll probably try to do towards the end of the month when I do like a little room reset and clean everything again is to go through and label all of the drawer pulls on my cubes. Some of them stayed, but I still want to redo the labels to something a little bit sturdier. And there I was I was excited to be done. So I had a hard time kind of holding you guys steady just because my camera is still attached to the tripod, but I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a peek into everything being done. I don't like filming videos where you go through your whole room and explain where everything is stored. I might open a thread on my Facebook group and be like, if you want to see something more up close or you want to see an idea of how I store something, we'll have a thread to drop some questions, and then it's a little bit easier for me to just drop like a photo real quick instead of doing like a dedicated video. Now, the closet, it still looks messy, but believe it or not, everything makes sense in here. I know where everything is. Things technically have a home, and the majority of the stuff in here, like I said, I am able to close up the door and I don't have to deal with like sun damage. That little blue bin is another project for another day. It's stamps that need to get cleaned and put back in their stamp set. Like, it's a lot of just like random stamps that have sort of lost their way and need a little bit of love. So final sort of pan of the room, and I've got some photos so that I don't keep making you guys sick. So again, just kind of going around the room. Is it perfect? No. Does it work for me? Yes. So big proponent of you do you. I will do me. I hope you guys found this inspiring. If you've made it this far, congratulations. And like I said, I'll post a link to the Facebook group. So if you have specific questions, it's probably a better way to get an answer. And until then, I'll catch you guys later.